My name is Skylar Jewell, and I'm the Director of Mental Performance and Character Development Mentor here at the International Junior Golf Academy, or IJGA. And really excited about our partnership with Global Junior Golf and the amount of information that we can now share with the world about how we do what we do and create a culture and a structure that allows students to reach for their potential and possibly even accomplish more than what they are expecting. Today I want to talk about reaching your potential, but some of the hurdles along the way, and a topic that not a lot of people go into, which is burnout, and when to step away in order to come back feeling the most refreshed, efficient, and ready to go. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how burnout manifests itself, a little bit about what it is, and then go into some strategies on what you can do to get the most out of your time, to work towards a future that you are excited about, and to really bring back the best you into every training opportunity and make the best of every day. So, what is burnout? What is this topic that a lot of people don't really talk much about, and in fact they avoid and continue pushing harder, which can make more of the situation and actually magnify the effects of what's going on in the culture or the environment that students and athletes are training in. So what it is, and it can be simply defined in three ways, is a physical or emotional exhaustion. And that's basically just the draining of either physical exertion or emotional exertion. The second is a devaluation of sport or the activity that they're participating in. And the third is reduced athletic accomplishment. And if you look at those three combined together, you can't separate them out, but it's really a combination of those three factors that show burnout and are the most indicative of when someone might be reaching a point where they might need to step away and come back sharper by taking in the strategies that we're going to talk about a little bit later on as we move forward. So as we understand burnout, what a lot of people overlook is the idea that you're invulnerable to feeling that you're exhausted, or maybe when you're exhausted, you just need to try harder. And that sometimes is the case, but a lot of times it might be the point where you need to take some time for yourself and reevaluate what you're doing, how you're getting there, and gain some perspective so that you can come back refreshed and ready to go. So recently, there is a PGA Tour golfer who has had some recent success at a match play event, who actually talked about retiring from the sport and understanding more about their why. And this is something that in burnout that happens often. You become physically or emotionally drained, and you move forward, and as you're moving forward, you kind of lose that perspective that you initially came in with, which is working towards what you would like to accomplish. You get so drained into the moment-to-moment success and failure that what happens is you actually lose that perspective that you came in with. So we want to make sure that you're able to understand when you're getting there and have the self-awareness and build off of that. There are numbers of professional golfers that have actually talked about losing that feel and having to find it again about what they're excited about. And so we want to still work towards what is it that you are excited about? How can we build some strategies that allow you to know when to step away, but then how to come back even more refreshed? And we're going to get to those as we move forward. All right, so how can we understand it? There's a really good metaphor. It's not a secret. It's something that you might have already heard, but it's really powerful in explaining how we get to that point where burnout it becomes a part of what we do, and how sometimes we lose track even though we think we might be doing the right thing. So there are two lumberjacks, and their boss decides to give them an incentive by the end of the week. Whoever cuts down the most trees is going to get a bonus. That excitement, something to work for, awesome. First lumberjack comes out, cuts down 50 trees on his first day. Second lumberjack comes out, starts sharpening his axe. Spends the whole day sharpening his axe, making sure every fine little bit is just perfect, making sure that his axe is ready for the week. No trees cut down. Get to the second day. The First lumberjack goes out, starts hacking away. Second lumberjack goes out. They cut the same amount of trees. So it's even. Third day, they both go out. They're chopping away. First lumberjack starts slowing down, feeling fatigued, feeling tired. The second lumberjack is feeling tired, but is cutting down now more trees. Cuts down twice as many trees on the third day. Fourth day, first lumberjack comes out, starts hacking away, and cuts down a fourth, 25% of the number of trees as the second lumberjack. Get to the final day, you can probably already guess who's going to win. But why? That's the important part. See, the first lumberjack went out with his tools, feeling ready, feeling excited, feeling prepared, but overlooked the most important part of it, and that's cutting down the tree, right? The goal. So the first lumberjack starts cutting down the tree, but not thinking about the longevity, not thinking that a sharp axe is going to cut through a tree more efficiently than a dull one. So without thinking about that, he did not have the success that the second lumberjack had, who had the foresight to plan ahead, to say, I need to give myself something back. I need to give my tools something that are going to allow me to have more success into the future. So he spent the time it took not going out and showing his skills and abilities, but sharpening his axe, feeling ready, preparing himself, fueling himself, so that it was going to be easier as he moved forward to accomplish what he had set to accomplish. And in the end, you guys can identify for yourself which is worth it to you. So in thinking about the metaphor of the two lumberjacks, we want to start identifying more factors and environmental influences that really bring the how. How does burnout come up, and how can we start to identify strategies? We'll go into the strategies in a minute, but I want to really talk about some of the environmental influences and factors that go into burnout. The first being a constant pressure to win, to train, to do more. Have you ever felt like that? Have you ever heard others talk about wanting to do more or having a need to do more? Sometimes it can be very difficult. And that constant pressure to have to do more, to have to win more, is something that can lead to the second factor, which is feeling trapped. You put so much in, and now you're trapped. Your identity can be trapped into, well, I need to do more, and if I don't, then I'm letting someone else down. I'm letting myself down. I'm letting parents down. I'm letting coaches down. I'm letting these people who are my influencers down. And you can look at it in terms of a bank. So overall, if you are spending more than you make, that a balance is going to go down. And you can think of that maybe like your emotional energy and your physical energy. If you're spending more than you make, then those energy levels are going down. So and with a bank, you're writing checks and you're receiving checks. If you're always writing out checks, always putting things out and not receiving back in, you at some point are going to run out of a balance. You're going to sometime run out of those two tanks. So you got to refuel the tanks. And that goes into the third factor, which is actually a controlling lifestyle. So there's a theory that talks about actually how the control of someone's identity through sport. It can come from coaching, it can come from environment, it can come from a culture. Actually leads someone to feel controlled and not feel autonomous. And they actually live under an environment that they feel like their personal person is controlled by something outside of them. And it leads to this factor of burnout. So those three factors together, constant pressure, feeling trapped, and feeling controlled, can lead to feeling a sense of, I guess, if you want to really look at it, a sense of self that has been diminished. Probably the part most of you have been waiting for is how can we build a culture and how can we build management techniques and strategies that allow for you to be able to have the time to step away and be efficient, but be even more effective at coming back into training and coming back into reaching your goals and working towards the things that you started off being excited about, probably still are excited about, but just needed to gain some perspective and reevaluate so that you can come in fresh. So we're going to start off by talking about 4 of the key areas that I'd like to share that I think have, in the experience of being in academies and being in very high performance training situations that have become most apparent, but also that research back. And since we like to focus on fact-based and research-based interventions and opportunities. So the first one, and I'm sure that a lot of people have talked about it and work on it, is your time management. Now, time management goes into a number of different categories, and especially in the high demands of having school and golf for junior athletes and junior golfers, managing your time can be one of the most critical points of being able to balance and create checks in the bank where you're creating energy, but also how to check it out and where to check it out and where you're spending your energy. So a lot of times that comes in the form of spending time doing other activities. At IJGA, we actually create different opportunities during training and outside of training to allow students to engage in a variety of different activities, whether it's on our basketball courts or tennis courts. We even have indoor sport-specific tasks, such as ping pong, there's a shuffleboard, there's pool, and foosball. And we actually use those during training to work on hand-eye coordination, visualization, allow students to be competitive within the golfing frame, but then come back and bring that energy into their training and the other specific tasks they're working on. And what that allows for is a little bit of a break in the training and allows for kind of a reprogramming. So if you were to think of it, it's almost as if you're on a highway and things get dull and boring. And if you've driven on a highway before, a long, long highway on a road trip, you know what I'm talking about. You get going and everything looks the same. Nothing's changing. So in order to change things up a bit, go in fresh, you take an exit. And you get off on the exit, and even though you're going to loop right back onto the highway to continue on your task, you refuel. You get some gas in your car, you get some snacks for the road, you see a few things in the town you're in, and then you keep on moving, refreshed, rejuvenated, and ready to go. Don't want to run on empty, but you want to manage your time in a way that allows you to reach your destination effectively and efficiently, so you're ready to go once you get there. Now, another part of this, and kind of talking about some of the other portions that are challenging with that constant pressure, and the pressure that is created through competition to win, to improve, to do more. The person who can do more can do better. We often see early specialization. And early specialization is where an athlete spends the majority amount of their time focusing in one specific area. And what we found is that when athletes focus in one specific area for too long, those who are very highly skilled at a younger level aren't always the ones who are the best when they get older. And the same that are maybe 12 to 15 that are the best aren't the same from 15 to 18, and then from 18 on. So you can, as you go through, and finding this early specialization isn't necessarily the best, we have also found that more athletics and competition and being able to have better body awareness have allowed athletes to not only from a physical standpoint to be more in shape, but also from an emotional standpoint to be able to balance out the different challenges and relate them back to experiences that they've had, whether it might be in ping pong or basketball or pool or football, and relate back to those and have better coping strategies that they've picked up for themselves. So, and it becomes a lot easier to then refer to other tasks that allow the student to have more success in what they would like to accomplish, in this case, golf. So time management and knowing and understanding those priorities and giving way for other opportunities is highly important, is something that you should definitely bring in as part of your culture. Now with that, and managing time, a part of that time comes to our second strategy, which is really focusing on relaxation. So I might, as a part of training, allow students to take a rest, to take an opportunity to grab some water, to refuel and go to the gas station, so to say, or go to the rest stop. Just like a NASCAR who's been speeding around the track has to go for a pit stop every once in a while. We also do this as a part of our full-time training after tournaments, where the Monday or the day after their tournament's completed, we actually allow all of our students the opportunity to rest and recover with no training, but also to evaluate what they're doing. So we give a pre-tournament, which allows the student to hone their process, to put their best plan in place and stick to it for the tournament. And then that Monday after, they then evaluate themselves. Did I stick to my process? Did I stick to what I say I was going to do? Can I take ownership for the areas where I was challenged? And what are my solutions? And with those solutions, it allows students to gain a perspective and hone their process while being efficient with their time off, but also retrain and give a good focus for what they're going to do the rest of the week and going into the next bout of training before their next tournament, maximizing their time and focus so that they come in ready to go. So with that, we also build in to avoid coaches' input all the time, where a lot of times in cultures, coaches can be a dictator and tell students what to do. We allow students the time and the structure that we create to have autonomy, where they have self-guided challenges. They can choose whether they want an easy challenge or difficult challenge. They can guide their time through some self-guided practice, and we monitor this to see how they're progressing, how they're moving forward. But it allows them the autonomy to start connecting with what it is for them. And the reason this is so important is golf is an individual sport. You go out on the golf course and you can't have a coach IV. You can't have a connection with anyone else. It's you and your own thoughts. And at the highest level, even though you're surrounded by hundreds of thousands of people potentially, and millions if you count the cameras, it's still just you. And that isolation can create a lot of different troubles. So creating the time to learn how to manage that isolation and that individual freedom is important for any junior athlete. And that, with that, as we talk about relaxation, downtime is so important to what you're able to do, and giving yourself the downtime and the evaluation to be able to go into whatever you're going to do and have the physical energy as well as the emotional energy. So that goes into our third, and we've already talked about it a little bit, but I want to go into it a little bit more and specify it, but it's autonomy. If you are constantly dictating what someone should do, and they are constantly taking the input and doing it day in and day out, at some point there could be a point where that frustration builds, and the only person that they can go back to is the person telling them. They don't have the ownership of their tasks and their training. They can't go back and they can't reevaluate or adapt their plan because they're used to receiving it so much. Autonomy is such a key to owning and developing as a person and an individual. And it's something that I actually challenge parents and coaches with to give more ownership and accountability to students. One way we do that actually here is by allowing students and giving them the opportunity to say, hey, I would like to take some leadership. I would like to actually guide the fitness, or I would like to actually guide my own self through the rest of the day. I would like to actually do something and create my own plan based off of, and they give their reasons and they give their rationale, and we listen and we say, you know what, that might be the best thing for you. And we have numbers of students that actually struggle with this, so we want to guide them and give them the structure, give them the drills, but then there are other students who are starting to step beyond it, who are informed and are allowing themselves the opportunity to buy in and to start to develop more of an interest because they now have some autonomy with their training, along with receiving the elite performance and the elite training from the coaches around them. So it ends up creating the best opportunity to take what the coaches and the information that we have to offer as those who have a lot of knowledge, and it specifies it individually for the student. You bring it together and really marry it in a way that allows students to have high performance and high success. Now, the fourth topic goes into really probably the overarching idea that culture is what drives burnout. And it goes into every area of everything we've talked about so far. And it's probably the one that I think most people need to spend more time on, is really developing a culture that allows those who want to achieve really to be able to take the time to achieve, but also allows those who might not have the same goals to also achieve what they would like to achieve. And we do that by really developing a goal-driven culture where each person's allowed, sets their goals and reevaluates them and works to hone those. And what we do as an academy, what we do as a profession, and what a lot of people overlook is giving the time to actually gain perspective. So during that evaluation, keeping stats, keeping numbers, we actually spend an enormous amount of time taking those numbers and creating life out of them. So it's not just a greens in regulation, or it's not just a putts per green in regulation, but how is that working towards their end goal? A brief example, someone who wants to end up shooting even par and is at 78. Very, very common scenario. We get people who want to shave about 6 strokes off their score. So we break it down into what are your putts per green in regulation? Where are your shots? From a mental perspective, what are the challenges that you have in those shots? Is it planning? Is it preparation? Is it comfort? Is it anxiety? What is it that's actually keeping you from getting there? We break it down. So we break it down. If you want to end up cutting 6 strokes off your score, what can we do this year? What's realistic? Some people pick 3 strokes in the semester. Perfect. We have 6 months in a semester, and if you cut that, you end up being at a point where you have to gain a half stroke per month. So what drills can you focus on? How can we measure it? How can we break it down into a way that is goal-directed, and you start gaining those strokes, and where are we going to gain them? If we focus on putting, maybe we can get 1 stroke out of it. We break it down, and we break it down even further, so the athlete then can see exactly what it takes to go from point A, where they are at, to exactly where they would like to be, and how long it will take. And then we can reevaluate along the way. And a lot of times the challenge then comes in with actually holding some students back because they get so excited and they get so into what they're doing that they actually start to put themselves in the first burnout situation where they think they need to do more, but really it is continuing to reevaluate, continuing to assess, and see where they're at. And I hope for you that that's the same experience that you'll have. But feel free to reach out to any of us. In our partnership with Global Junior Golf, we really look to continue building this and building this information. And it's something that we hope that you gain a significant value to, so that you can then go from where you are to where you would like to be efficiently, knowing when to step away, knowing when to come back rested, reevaluated, and more efficient into what you would like to accomplish. All right, so there's a lot of information. I'm really happy that you stuck through and got some of the information. I also believe it'll be a great value as you move forward. And I want to give a big thank you to Global Junior Golf for all that they're putting together. We look forward to continuing to provide great information to our partnership. Really quick recap, the way that we want to avoid burnout is basically when your checks out don't match your checks in. And the 4 ways that we talked about managing it are working on your time management, so making time for other activities and avoiding early specialization. The second one's relaxation with either your techniques or just some downtime. Third one is autonomy, and that's going to be going into your rest and evaluation, your individual self-guided training, and gaining more perspective as you move and reevaluating. And the fourth thing is the culture. And that's that goal-directed culture that allows those who are within the culture to continue pushing, driving, and wanting to achieve more. I'm Skylar Jewell, and I appreciate your time and checking in. Keep checking us out. Check into Global Junior Golf, and we look forward to talking with you.